Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1763, and today's date is January 11th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Gold is the Key. Patriots have the Fed scrambling. Now, before I get started, I wanted to talk about Trump. You might have heard in the news that President Trump is withdrawing 2,000 of our boys and girls out of Syria. Just a while ago, he took an 11-hour flight in darkness and total secrecy to go out to Iraq with First Lady to visit the troops there. He said, "We're no longer the sucker, folks," was his storming declaration. With President Trump, you get what you see, and that's what we love about him. He delivers. So does Noble Gold. They put together this stunning solid silver coin to underline that great job he's doing, with highlights of his achievement to date and a portrait on the front. Any Trump supporter would be crazy about one of these. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and use the code X22 to get free shipping. This is a $6.50 savings. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, I keep talking about this economic illusion that we're in, and we have to remember that this economic illusion started back in 1913. I mean, we couldn't see it clearly back then, but it all began during that period of time. And then when we hit World War II, the illusion continued to phase 2. Then when we hit 1970, we went into phase 3. And here we are today with an economic illusion that is completely obvious, because once we hit 2008, they needed to go into phase 4. And that was money printing. That was taking what we have today and allowing the Fed to do whatever they needed to do to keep the system alive. Because without that, the entire system would have died. So they had to create some type of an event. It was planned, of course, and they had to make it seem like we were in trouble. Well, we would have been in trouble if we didn't allow the Fed to do what they did. Companies were going to all go under. But this was all planned. They knew they had to do this. It wasn't like they were shocked or surprised that this happened. This was all part of their plan. Their plan was to create currency because they knew they were going to be able to keep the system alive for a lot longer if they printed the currency, bailed other central banks out, spread out the currency around the world, and gave it to the banking system. This would allow their system, when I say the central bank system, to stay alive, and they'd be able to push the debt to the extreme and have countries borrow as much as they possibly could. Now, to accomplish this, they had to have manipulation. They had to have control over the system, because just by creating currency, that doesn't make the economy fine. They had to make sure they were able to manipulate the numbers. They had to make sure they were able to manipulate the stock market. They had to make sure that everyone believed it. So they created a plan. The central bankers had this plan of creating this gigantic illusion. Remember, this wasn't a free and open market. They have the ability to make the economy look fantastic. They have the ability to make the economy look so-so. They have the ability to make the economy crash. They're in total control over the system. Trump right now and the Patriots, they're in total control of the system. And what we're seeing today is complete chaos in the economic illusion. This is why when Trump is out there and he's talking about his numbers, look how great it is. We have low unemployment. We have incredible GDP. The economy's doing fantastic. Look at the stock market. If you notice, he's pointing to all those things that were manipulated in the past. These are the things that the deep state, the central bankers pushed out there to convince the people that the economy's doing well. Now, we really never looked at that. We always looked at what was going on behind the scenes, the people's economy. And if you notice, during this time, there was free money. Interest rates were very, very low. It allowed corporations to stay afloat. They bought back their shares, and they were able to continue this illusion up until this point. Now, Trump, he took over the economy from Obama. This is one illusion passing to Trump, and Trump is keeping the illusion alive. Trump is keeping the illusion alive for a completely different reason. But with everything that the companies were doing with this free money, it is all coming to an end right now. Earnings seasons right now hasn't really begun. But the big banks, they're going to report next week, and it already looks like Wall Street might be in for a rude awakening. We also have corporate profits that are going to be coming out. We have all of this coming out, and it doesn't look that great. Right now, we know that Apple cut revenue guidance for the first time in 16 years. Fits right into that economic illusion, doesn't it? Macy's cut profit guidance. Barnes & Noble cut guidance. FedEx cut profit guidance. American Airlines cut guidance. Delta cut profit guidance. Kohl's reported a plunge in comp store sales. Ford announced it will cut thousands of jobs in Europe. Jaguar announced it will cut 10% of its workforce. BlackRock announced it will cut 500 jobs. State Street announced it will cut 15% of its senior management. AQR announced it will cut dozens of jobs. United Technologies ended sale of Chubb fire safety as bids were too low. Virtually every single sector is telegraphing weakness. The illusion is coming to an end. Trump knows this. The Patriots know this. They know they only have control over the statistical numbers. Everything else, they can't manipulate. They can only manipulate what the central bank, the deep state, what they set up. This is why you see like housing starting to decline. This is why you see companies not doing that well. The easy money days are over. It only could take the economy so long because you can keep these statistical numbers as high as you want, but when the people's economy behind the scenes is falling apart, it's very difficult to explain. And Trump knows this. He understands this, and this is why they put together this plan to bring the system down and destroy not the people, but the central bank system. Now, this is a tough thing to do because you need to get us out of the central bank system and you have to move us into a brand new system. Not an easy task. While you're doing this, you need to get rid of and unwind the globalist system that they were putting into place. And remember, over the many, many years, they've been pushing companies, they've been pushing manufacturing all out of the United States. His task is to bring this all back. And remember, they've been creating regulations and taxes and everything that they could think of to keep the companies out of the U.S. because they had completely different plans. But very interestingly, it seems that the Patriots, Trump, the team, they had the Federal Reserve confused. And a lot of the different, Fed heads around the country, they're trying to step in and they're trying to say, no, this is going to happen. No, I think this is going to happen. While in the meantime, Powell, which I still believe, is on the side of Trump. So right now, they are butting heads. We have Charlie Evans. Now, he is the Federal Reserve president of Chicago. And he said that the Federal Reserve officials should be in no hurry to further increase rates, but he says there might be 2 hikes this year. It's supposed to be 3. They said 2. But he said we should wait and see. Because they know and they understand that if they continually raise rates, the system comes down. Now, remember, they had a completely different plan. Their plan before was to continually raise rates and blame it on Trump. If Clinton was in office, they were going to raise rates while she started a war, which would cover everything up. Trump, he turned it all around and made the economy do very, very well. So they're in a situation where their backs are against the wall, and every time they raise the rates, Trump points to them. But Powell was out there, and he is saying that the U.S. economy is solid. His biggest worry, and we mentioned this yesterday, is global growth. So the United States is solid, but the rest of the world, there's a problem. Think about that for a sec. Powell pointed out that the U.S. may be more vulnerable to a slowdown in global growth because of the rise of globalized business and supply chains. He says everything is slowing because of the globalized business. The Fed chair also said the slowdown in China specifically is a concern. They're watching that. Now, he was asked about tariffs. Now, this is very interesting because the mainstream media is out there saying tariffs is slowing down the global growth. Tariffs, and this is coming from the IMF, is slowing down the global growth. Coming from the mainstream media here, tariffs will bring down the economy. But he brushed off the idea that tariffs were even having any type of impact on either the U.S. economy or China. That there's no visible mark from tariffs. That's very interesting. I mean, is he not going along with the mainstream media, the other central bank bad guys' plan? It's starting to seem that way. And I know the other central bank presidents are out there saying that he's not going to raise rates. And I know he's saying right now he has flexibility, but that doesn't mean he's not going to do it. And I think Trump wants him to raise the rates. I think he wants them continually doing this because he wants the Fed to be responsible in bringing down the entire system. Now, Russia, they are continually de-dollarizing. And they are trying to get rid of all their dollars. The country just shifted $100 billion of its reserves to the yuan, the yen, and the euro to get out of the dollar. The Central Bank of Russia has moved further away from its reliance on the United States dollar and has axed its share in the country's foreign reserves to an historic low. Now, the holding decreased from 43.7% to a new low of 21.9%. Now, where do all these dollars go? They don't go to dollar heaven. They're going to come back to the United States. And Peter Schiff has been warning that once countries start to do this, we're going to see inflation here. But the Russian Central Bank First Deputy Governor said that Moscow sees the acquisition of gold as a 100% guarantee from legal and political risk. Gold is the key. Q has told us that gold is going to bring down the Fed. I believe gold is going to bring down not just the Fed, but the entire central bank apparatus. That is what they fear most. Do you know how you can tell what the central bank fears most? Whatever they demonize. If they tell you silver, you shouldn't be looking at that. Gold, it's not money. Silver's not money. You shouldn't really be holding it. It's not even worth it. It's just some old piece of metal that we used to have. It's just something that we keep around, to keep people looking at it because it's nice and shiny. That's something that you should have. That's what you need. If they tell you the dollar is all important and dollar is king, it is not. If they tell you that cryptocurrencies are used by terrorists and it's not important and everyone should not even look at it, it's something that most likely you should have. Every time the central bank or politicians tell you something, think the opposite. Think mirror. The gold that all these countries have, and you can see China, Russia, they've been accumulating a lot. Q has been telling us that we do have gold. A lot of people think the national parks have a lot of gold deposits under them. And they put these aside for a specific reason. Might even have oil and other type of elements that we don't know of. But we need to understand that gold, that is what is going to bring down the entire Rothschild banking system. This is what they're most afraid of. It's almost like kryptonite to Superman. Gold is like the kryptonite which brings down and destroys the Fed. This is why countries, the big countries, China, Russia. This is why they've been accumulating. This is why countries started to realize, something, we need our gold back. This is why Q is out there saying gold will bring down the Fed. There's a reason for this, because it looks like their strategy, and this is going to be a worldwide strategy, is to use their gold holdings to build confidence in a completely different system. So people will say, okay, the Fed system is backed by absolutely nothing. The Fed, the IMF, their SDRs, backed by zero. No confidence there. China, Russia, the US, many other countries, with their national currencies, they are backed by gold. Now, Russia has been saying and calling all the countries to use their national currency, because what better way to destroy the central bank but for every single country to go back to their national currency and to either back it by gold or use gold as a confidence builder to move away from the central bank system. Because once you detach from the central bank system and you find out what gold is really worth and how much manipulation was around it, the system is going to flourish. The system is going to break free from the chains. And I do believe this is the plan of the Patriots. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.